how do you evaluate a game like that? What's the takeaways?
Start this press conference by saying I actually was clean shaven this morning. See if you're paying attention. It was an ugly baseball game. But we just said this, that at the end of the day, it's a win. You found a way to win. It was awful. You'd much rather play an awful game and win than an awful game and lose. And when you look back at the end of the season, when you're playing for a championship, this is going to be a very important game in that win column. And what I was most proud about is all the nastiness going on and all the bad baseball. We somehow came together and found a way to pull it out for a win. And we're not going to remember this, I don't think, way back or as we get way down the season how it happened. We're just going to play, what we want. So we'll take that. We'll get some rest and clean it up. But you're going to have I'll just say that too, because you're going to have a handful of games like this. I don't care what people say. You're going to play 56 baseball games or 55 in our case because we lost one to weather. You're going to have 2 or 3 games where it just is not good. But if you can find a way to win, that's the positive.
There hasn't really been a start like this yet for RJ. Were you kind of disappointed in some of the guys that followed behind him and their struggles?
Well, yes and no. I mean, some of them yes, some of them no, because we've been asking a lot out of guys like Corrigan and Tolman too, and they just didn't have it. They were out of gas, and I don't want to say they weren't competing. They were competing. They just weren't very effective today. But anytime you only get 2 innings out of your starter, I think we sat in here last night. I think we did, and I said I feel pretty good. I feel like we're in pretty good shape with our bullpen today. Shows you how much I know. So,
how tough is it? And I know you've had to do it a few times this season. When those later innings start getting on, and you've had 5, 6 relievers, and you start looking at the list. How tough is it to kind of pick from there?
You just look at really kind of for us, it's just the strikes late, and that's something we need to be better at. We've got a lead. We've had a lead a lot, and we've had a lead a lot late after innings 6 and 7, and we've got to do a better job of coming in and throwing strikes. So when we're looking at that board, I mean, it really comes down to that. Cal will say, "What do you want to do?" I say, "Whoever's going to throw strikes." I mean, that's kind of step one for us. But everybody competed, everybody contributed to the best they can. We won ugly. I don't know what we were in the country ERA coming in, but it was pretty good. Top 10. You know what? They deserve a down day. Is the way I'd look at it.
Does this change anything for Tuesday, or by then will you guys be full to
go? We'll rest tonight. We'll rest, just kind of check and do a heat check, see where everybody is. That'll probably determine where we go on the midweek stuff.
Do you have like a general idea, just not just with the Tuesday game, but then the road series and then the UNLV game and Oregon State, just with all the games coming up, kind of stuff you might have to do to manage the staff after?
I'll tell you, and this is going to you'll laugh, but who do we play this week?
Long Beach State.
So we got Long Beach State, and then
go to USC.
So all I worry about is we get through today. We'll get through. We're going to do whatever we can to get through on Tuesday, but I would assume that we would be back into the Marsh and the Vanderkoy and get a better outing out of RJ and be rested. I mean, that's the plan.
I mean, there's so much that happened, but just the fact that you were down 4-0, 7-3, and they just kept coming back. I mean, that now eventually you get ahead and lose that lead, but I mean, they were pretty persistent in doing what they need to do to.
Yeah, I mean, us and them. It was one of those, we never really felt comfortable today. It was just one of those days where it just kind of had that vibe to it. Even when we got the lead, I think we were up 3. I think we left 2 guys on in the one inning, and they left bases loaded in the other one. I remember Coach Greenspan came in and said, "Boy, it should have been nice to get a couple there," because I think his predicted score was we'd win 20-15. It was off a little bit, but it just didn't feel comfortable. And but I did like our resilience. And you know what? Ugly, but we'll take it.
It's your first sweep of Arizona, 3-game sweep, and the first in ASU since 2009. What do you take from that?
We just beat another conference opponent. 3 games that we will put those 3 games into the win column. I'm always, and I don't mean to be like, I don't make a big deal out of who it is or what it is. It's like we won. So I appreciate, I guess from a fan perspective and a school perspective, it gives people something to talk about. But really, I'm looking at we're 8-1 in conference, and I said it here the first night, like we don't get more for beating Arizona or less. So it's good. It feels good to win. But I would tell you that if it was another conference opponent, it would feel good to win 3 as well. But I mentioned it earlier, the territorial cup points, nice to have that in the bank. And we got one more down there with them, and we're gonna try to get them again.
What was Carter's issue with the?
Just tighten up in the back. I mean, it's long. It's a long weekend, and he was a little dehydrated too.
Is that?
He's fine. Yeah, it'd be day to day. Be fine.
When you fell behind late, do you think all the things that have happened this year sort of gave them the confidence that, we can find a way to do this even after giving up that 3-run lead there?
Yeah, I mean, to give up an 8 spot or a 4 spot in the 8th, and to give up the lead, it was funny because I wanted to check that out. I wanted to check what was the vibe of the dugout. It was interesting. Guys were upset the way that we kind of allowed that to happen, but there was no doubt. Like they just we're gonna score. I mean, it was neat to see. Now, sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But what I look for is what's the intent, what's the true belief, and I will tell you with 100% certainty, those guys truly believe that, because when you learn how to win, that becomes the expectation and not the can this happen or will it happen? It's like you expect it to happen. So that was definitely going on that bottom of the 8th and 9th.
You mentioned that the staff's been so good this year that they deserve one off day. How much different would the outlook be if this was on a Friday?
Well, I'm going to change my word. I don't want to say deserve. No, that was me, not you. I don't think we'd ever deserve that, but it's going to happen. So, it's a good thing it happened on a Sunday and not a Friday, and I would agree with you. But there's going to be some guys that are going to step up in the mix here, probably even on Tuesday when we play, because it's a team effort, and we're going to try to win every baseball game at a time. But we also got to make sure that we're ready for next weekend and the conference stuff too. So we'll be mindful of that.
When you had to go back to Romero, was there any hesitation at all because of him pitching last night? Or?
Sammy, he wanted it. I did not want to have to use him, but it was. I'll give you a little bit of a taste of this team. I mean, that guy's like, hey man, I'm ready. I walked down the pen actually earlier and just said, hey, do you have anything today? And he's like, absolutely, absolutely. And then when things had happened, I can't remember what inning, it was 8th or 9th or something, but I'm literally standing at the water cooler and Marsh runs by me and says, Skip, I'm going down the toss to see how I feel. I mean, that's so. And that wasn't me telling him, that wasn't Cat telling him, that was him saying, I want to help my team win this game, which you appreciate that. That's the mindset of these guys.
Would you have put Alec into the game, or would you have tried to stay away from that?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Goes back to the intent thing. I appreciate the fact that he wanted to do that. That's what I thought was pretty neat.
Where's Luke Laflamme in terms of getting
He's
into
close.
the
I
game?
mean, he probably would have been the next guy today. But he's been on the sideline for a while. That's one of the harder situations. You really want to put him in there in a tight baseball game against your in-state rival, but he probably would be the next guy.
You said there was a back problem with him?
Luke?
Yeah.
No. He's just, no. Not back.
What people have been doing with both Bishop and Torkelson, but particularly with Bishop, how hard is it then when they do pitch to him to be ready to do something?
I know. I mean, that's a great question. That's the art of this thing. Is like you got to be ready because you may only get 1 or 2 pitches to hit. And I know Torque was a little frustrated today that he had some pitches to hit and do some key situations and didn't get it done. But I would say, more often than not, that kid has, and he's executed for us a lot. It's just an interesting combo because. The fact that they both feed off each other. One forces the other one to get pitches, and the other one forces the other one to get pitches to hit. And if Alika continues to give you the quality ABs behind him, it's not an automatic. If you want to go ahead and put runners on base in front of Alika Williams and Carter Aldretti, we'll take our chances with that too. So I think it's working very well right now.
Is that mindset that you mentioned with Marsh coming up and talking to you, is that kind of the product of having a smaller bullpen and knowing these guys they're going to have to kind of be ready every day, every other day?
Yeah, I think it's a product of like just selflessly giving yourself up for the team to win. I mean, we're going to be smart with that stuff and take care of those guys, but I think it shows that he's in, man. He's not sitting back and saying, hey, you know what, I did well on Friday and I'm just going to kick back and wait for my professional career. He's like really cares about winning for the team. And it wasn't a conversation. I mean, I was getting the water. He ran by me and just said, hey, I'm going to get my arm. And I'm kind of like, what did you just say? One of those deals. So I just appreciate that. I appreciate that mindset.
Where was RJ struggling today?
Just, they're a really good fastball hitting team. And if you look at the guys that had success, they were able to drop their off-speed over. We'd seen that in some of the scouting stuff too. So he was not real effective in throwing his off-speed over. And it was just one of those days too. I mean, I did not want to go out there and take him out the second inning because I knew we had a lot of ball game left. But I just felt like, we got to change it up. Like, it's everything they're touching is falling for a hit. He's not happy with his performance. And maybe we'll let him parlay that into maybe a little bit more action on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. And Lyle, just what did you make of his reaction to going out of the lineup, then coming back in today?
Yeah, he worked hard. He's been working hard with Mike and Ben and the cages and getting the swing right. Stuck in the big home run today. He was ready. He's really working hard on some of the things he was getting himself in trouble with over the last few ball games. So he was ready when the nod happened. It didn't happen today.
Thanks, Gabe.
All right, thank you.